The rapid urban growth compared to slow development of infrastructure for the teeming population has led to scarcity of infrastructure, loss of green land, scarcity of accommodation, lack of power supply, air pollution, increased crime rates, and poor healthcare facilities, etc. This in turn means the FCT needs effective infrastructural development, which involves project management, value for money, analysis, and efficient monitoring and evaluation. With expectations from the next FCT minister, Dateline Abuja speaks with Mr. Dayo Alao, a consultant economist, infrastructural planning and financing expert, concerning the infrastructural development in the FCT and the way forward.
The rapid growing population in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, compared to slow development of infrastructure has led to some complications in development. With expectations from the next minister of the FCT, Dateline Abuja speaks with Mr. Dayo Alao, a consultant economist, infrastructure planning and finance expert, CEO, Vista Resources Integrated Consultancy, concerning infrastructural development in the FCT Abuja and way forward.
Infrastructure in the FCT has deteriorated over the last couple of years, considering that the initial investments that government made has kind of phased out, and there are currently no clear maintenance plans. So this has impacted infrastructure in the FCT, making it dilapidated. Then you are also dealing with population explosion. I think the original plan for the infrastructure in the FCT was for less than 4 million people. Right now, I think the population, and we haven't done a census in recent times, is closer to about 6 to 6.5 million. So you suddenly are stuck with a situation where the infrastructure is overburdened by a growing population, and government needs to act fast. As with developing economies, infrastructure needs to be reviewed constantly. The Nigerian Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan was recently reviewed itself. So it's about time that FCT did a review of its existing infrastructure plan to deal with the population explosion and the congestion that is coming. And the World Bank, currently predicts that the population of Nigeria is set to double by 2050. So if we're dealing with those kind of statistics, we have to adapt the infrastructure plan and review it at least on a medium-term basis every 3 years. FCT needs to take a step back and understand that, usually for every urban city, you have some of this rural or outlying slums that actually house a lot of the cheap labor that is used within the urban center itself. So the FCT needs to start to think of innovative ways of restructuring or structuring how the outlying areas of Abuja are managed. Where we already have existing housing estates in these areas, government again needs to start to think of innovative ways of developing the associated infrastructure that will reduce the burden on the existing outlying infrastructure in those areas. So for example, government could invite the private sector to work on the infrastructure and then levy a charge on the housing estates, to pay for that infrastructure over a period of time, maybe 10 to 15 years. We could do the financial models. However, government needs to start to think of more innovative ways to enable the appropriate infrastructure to manage the population that is expanding in those areas. And government needs to start to expand this infrastructure to other areas so that it's geospatially distributed better. Currently, we just have a concentration of people in some certain areas because the infrastructure is already there. So government needs to start to expand this infrastructure to other areas where it has land. And it could do this through various innovative models involving the private sector. You see, Nigeria is very good at developing plans, and over the last maybe 20 odd years, we've had various plans. The Green Alternative, we've had, the ERGP, the new National Development Plan, which is running from 2021 to 2025, and also the 2050 agenda, the Nigeria 2050 agenda. All of these are amazing plans. Where we always fall short is implementation and monitoring and evaluating how we have performed. So the new government, I would expect that, they would look at these existing plans and then also look at the Nigerian Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan, which has an estimate of, what the gap is in terms of infrastructure and the amount of financing or funding that will be required to close that gap. One of the key issues that I have seen, in my engagement with a lot of, ministries, departments, and agencies of the government is the lack of integration across planning and policy, and then also siloed project implementation. So you also have different, mandates that cross across each other. So for example, why is AMAC on the road asking people for their vehicle licenses? This doesn't make any sense. One has to go back and look at what is the original mandate backed by the regulation or the law that gives AMAC the power to do certain things. You have the Vehicle Inspection Office also. Are they inspecting vehicles, or are they also duplicating their roles with the Federal Road Safety Corps? So a number of this needs to be unbundled. So there needs to be better integration. I would encourage a lot of data sharing, because I noticed that a lot of the agencies, and from reviews and assessments that we have done at Vista Resources, are not sharing data. And then again, Nigeria itself has to look inward as a country and start to develop its own data repositories. In summary, when we talk about infrastructure, the burden does not lie only on government. It also lies on us, the residents of the Federal Capital Territory. We have to start to integrate better as communities. Community policing needs to be introduced. Also, our values, we need to start to sit back as a country, as a community, to look at what are our values. We have to start to police ourselves. When you see something that is not in line with either the plans, or you see people developing infrastructure in areas where they are not supposed to, then we have to police ourselves and make the ideal reports. We have to keep our eyes open. Your safety is my safety. We have to work together as a community. I think the whole of Nigeria needs to change our orientation on how we perceive each other and how we live together as a community. This and only this can solve all our problems in Nigeria.
And that's a wrap on the show for today. Many thanks for staying tuned. Join me same time, same station, 9:30 a.m. every Wednesday on African Independent Television, AIT. I'm Momo. To have a lovely day, and bye for now.